Yes, my name is Arild Kristensen. So I work as a coordinator on a local NAV office. We have office a few minutes from here in an old prayer house from 1887. So it's not a modern typical office building where usually NAV is staying. So I will say a bit about our experiences and what we have learned from using and doing piloting and on VR with our youngsters. And we work with a target group between 18 and 25, so I come a bit. But I will give a little bit context so you understand what we do and why we try to do these things and what we have experienced. So you need to learn. So for around 2017, some colleagues, so Mikael, Ekaterina, and Hanna, maybe these three people, they were also watching us for a month. They were 2 days for 1 month to participate and watch us doing a group process. And they put what we do into what Hanna was talking about, the DOTS model, this to achieve this CMS skills, which is important for this century workers. So that's what we try to do in this process. We do with the youngsters, and then we have put VR into this process. So I will share about it. So this is where we stay, this old prayer house. So this is our assignment to clarify youth for further activity and help them to find a job or bring them back to education. That's our main goals. So we have 3 ways we do this. We approach where we are working together with the youngsters so they can learn the tasks and get to know them well through working close together. And this group process approach, which we have been using VR. And we have also a creative approach where we give especially youngsters who lack totally motivation for work and education, they use their interests, their hobbies, for example, like music. So we use, for example, their hobbies and to create a condition where they can get motivated for work and education. So, but I will focus now on the group process. So we try to be early intervention. We meet them in a totally different arena than they usually do. We use the group, the dynamics, and this interaction and all these things that's important. So yeah. So our group target, for example, now we have a lot of these youngsters have learning disabilities in different spectrum areas, autism, Asperger, ADHD, a lot of these issues. Combine it with anxiety, depression, and some also personal disorders. So we have different issues, quite complicated life situations. So So our government likes to use our place when they show how their strategies were working with youngsters, as our minister was visiting us this year as well. So so in the group process, we meet with his youngsters 2 days for 4 weeks per week, 2 days. So we are a bit 12 and 15 participants, and we have 2 counselors working with this group. And they work with this: why are you here? What prevents you from being at work or school? What are you good at? What is good skills? And what can you bring to the group? What wishes and dreams do you have for future? What kind of work do you want to know more about, try out? And how can you get more motivated? And all these things. They reflect on these questions in smaller groups. They're presented in the bigger group. So this is how we do our working things. So it's all about creating safe conditions for them to develop, get to know each other, try to show whom they are, and this is the focus in the first 2 weeks, and in the second week we start to introduce them for the VR, because then they get to know each other, they feel more safe within the group, and we have introduced them for the job opportunities and starting to use the VR. So we'll see what happens in. And we have done it in the pilot in different ways. The first time we did it in this autumn, it got a bit boring for them with the lack of time, waiting time to try the apps. So it was boring. They lose concentration, focus, and all these things. And it makes it more difficult. So in the second piloting we did last week, we made them into 3 different groups. So one group was trying the VR, one was doing the digital traditional career guidance. It's a Norwegian model, karriereverktøy in Norwegian, so where they do these things. And we have also a third group where they could reflect together on this job opportunities they have. So then they were circulating these 3 groups, and it works out much better. So this is from the pilot last week, where Hegge was, my colleague, was then helping and guidance these 3 youngsters who was trying it that. So we learned something about this. So we had 3 apps to try out: the blue sector, the dentist secretary, and the drone pilot. Because we had only tried to do the fish factor, blue sector, but since we have used the same Facebook account on all goggles, we had got a problem. It didn't manage to use the same, so we was not aware of it. So then we had to use the 2 other apps as well, because we could not have 3 people doing the same in the fish. Then we should have 3 different Facebook accounts. So it was like this is how we learn, may do mistakes and see that we have to do things differently. So in this group we have 10 participants. They're rotating. They got around 20 minutes each to get a taste of it. So 3 youngsters participate at the same time, and what I just told you before. So what do we see? Now what you can read. So we have this scale. We use the same answer response scheme as you use, Nikolai and Christian. So, and they gave quite good response, since 5 is the best for an average on this issue. How we can, to what extent would you recommend others to use VR in exploring careers and work tasks? So it's quite good response. And the second questions, to what extent did the apps make you more curious about what different professions, educations are available? So gave 3 in average on this one. And I will say there, when we go behind the answers, we can also see more details. So I will say a bit about it later. So how did you experience the usability of the applications? Gave it 3 in average. And there is a big gap, because the blue sector app is a much better user ability, so it gives better explanations when you use it than the 2 other apps. So the blue sector apps got much better feedback than the 2 other apps. So to what extent did you learn anything new about the professions you tested out? And it's also very split. Those who tried mainly only the blue sector app, they get really good feedback. Those who tried the drone pilot app and the dentist secretary said they didn't learn actually quite new things. So it was also interesting to see how they responded on the 3 apps there. And we also had some conversation with them where they could give us feedback. So I take some quotes from what they did experience. You can read them yourself. I don't probably need to read them out loud. So they still see this potential in using VR in our target group, who is a lot of people with autism, learning disabilities, HD, all this spectrum diagnosis. That's what we work with. They have big issues with getting to labor market. They need a lot of time, need really specific plans how to get into education and into working life. So that's what we work with.
These are some of the open-ended answers for
Yeah.
the question you have.
Yeah. And then you also see, as Roland mentioned in the previous, that they need more follow-up. We need to be close to them so they can get the guidance when we do the testing. So it's a bit maybe different from what you have this experienced, Nikolai and Christian, that our target group is a bit different from what you have from college. So also issue that they are still not used to use VR goggles and hand controllers. So it's also an issue they need to practice before they can focus on to get the working tasks in the apps. If they struggle too much with the handholders and how to use the game. So it's also necessary to do the training more before they use the apps. And they also say a bit, the information boxes have a bit too much written text, and they would like to have other ways to show and how to use the apps when they come into problems. So they said you could maybe listen more, and others say maybe you should have visualized more what to do in the apps. So it's also interesting feedback. So we have tried one time, we tried to do the VR on the big screen before, and on the second pilot, we did not do it. And then we got this feedback. Because on the first time they said it was not necessary, but the second group said we should do it. So it's because we have not that many participants, so I don't know how we can validate this feedback, but so that's what they say. But it's no doubt we need to have the same is or use for all apps on job taste. Now we have the difference on the apps we have been using, and it's no doubt the blue sector is the best one. And we're still struggling a bit how to organize it when we use it in groups. So I think maybe the best solution would to do it more individually than maybe do it in big groups. So maybe 2 or 3 maximum, and we need to give them more time as they have struggling with learning disabilities. They need more time than the 15-20 minutes we gave them. So the progress, and we also, half of the groups, we had 20 participants, only 10 wanted to try the VR. So, and for the 10 of the youngsters who did not want to try, they have this, as the last point say, there is a big issue that they have this insecurity, lack of confidence, and all these things, the anxiety, everything is difficult when they won't need to try something new. So for us to do this, I think we need to work for a quite long time to get them to feel secure enough to put on the VR goggles and really try the apps. For example, when we have these people come to our office, maybe the first 2-3 times they meet outside the building, maybe the third or fourth time they can walk through the building, and maybe the fifth time we meet, they can actually stay there and have a conversation. So maybe we need also to introduce them to VR in very small steps, really small steps. So this is. But it's a big potential for VR in career guidance alone or together with the traditional career guidance. So it will be interesting to use it after we finish this project. So they give us, especially this with learning disabilities and the other things I mentioned, they give us the thumb up. Because when they interact in VR, they are not passive listeners in traditional school. So they participate more actively, they do tasks, so they can focus more, concentrate more. So actually, when you talk to them, they can remember what they have been learning and doing. If they're just sitting and listening, you can imagine it goes one ear out the other one. So it's interesting. And we also use it as an icebreaker, because to start with people who consider them to be sick and to move them in the direction of job, education, it's a way to open up the perspectives and get into a chat with this topic. So it's also interesting. So we are really close in the blue sector app to be perfect. And for us, it's how to, because I've changed in stuff and to make people secure working the transfers to use the VR, because they need to be quite expert in using the VR, the technical things, and also to do the apps is also a challenge to get people really motivated to use the VR in their job every day practice. So that's what I have to say. So